I welcome all of you to my lecture session on chemistry of vitamins. So in this discussion, let's see in detail about chemistry of vitamin K. Professor Hendrik Damm in 1929, while studying sterol metabolism, he actually observed that chicks fed with fat and cholesterol free diets developed subcutaneous and muscular hemorrhages. Okay, so he also observed the same thing in other species where when fat and cholesterol is completely removed from their food, fatality is happening exclusively because of hemorrhage, and that he has reported. Edward A. Doisy has isolated and identified one chemical which actually is responsible for this, and they named it as vitamin K. These research teams have isolated vitamin K1 from alfalfa, that is a green leafy vegetable, and vitamin K2 from putrefied fish, and vitamin K1 was synthesized by Edward Doisy. Hendrik Damm actually did a lot of research work in using permutations and combinations, different fats, where he found like fish is actually very useful in reversing this hemorrhage. For their contributions, Nobel Prize in 1943, Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine was awarded to Professor Hendrik Damm and Professor Edward A. Doisy. Now let's see the isolation of vitamin K. Vitamin K was actually first isolated from plant material, that is the alfalfa grass. It was extracted with ether and the petroleum ether extract was taken. Petroleum ether extract was adsorbed onto zinc carbonate to remove the coloring materials, especially the chlorophyll, etc., and then elute the column with again ether, and take the ether layer and concentrate it. This concentrate is subjected to sodium hydrosulfide reduction. This was washed with sodium hydroxide to obtain organic layer. So that organic layer is extracted again with Claisen's alkali. Claisen's alkali is nothing but 85% potassium hydroxide, a very strongly concentrated alkali which is useful to isolate because it can form enolates. So in the organic mixture, if any enolizable or otherwise activated methylene containing component, if it is there, that can be extracted with Claisen's alkali. So that aqueous portion or otherwise Claisen alkali portion is diluted with water, because while dilution the bonds between the enolates are going to be dissociated. Then those organic material is extracted with ether, concentrate the ether layer, then oxidize with the silver oxide magnesium sulfate mixture minor, and then wash the extracts with the water, because here with the sodium hydrosulfide we are reducing it and then here we are oxidizing it again. Wash the extracts with water. Upon concentration of ether layer, we get the vitamin K. So this is a little bit lengthy procedure, but this is the procedure which gave first the vitamin K. Vitamin K1 is a yellow oil. Its melting point is minus 20 degrees centigrade. Vitamin K2 is yellow crystalline solid and its melting point is 53.5 degrees centigrade. These compounds are relatively thermostable but sensitive to alkali and light, because in the presence of alkali and when you expose it to light, the compound can get degraded. So this is the way how vitamin K was isolated, and these are the properties of vitamin K. Now let's see how actually the structure of vitamin K1 was elucidated. Vitamin K1 molecular formula is C31H46O2. Okay, so here if you calculate the number of unsaturations, 31 minus how much? 31 minus 46 by 2 is equal to 23 plus 1 is equal to how much? 32 minus 31 minus 22, 9 unsaturations are there. Okay, so these are 9 unsaturations are there. So this indicated that so many double bonds are there, or there is a possibility of presence of some kind of aromatic structure in the compound, because so many carbons are there, 31 carbons are there. So anything is possible. So double bonds can also be there. Now vitamin K1, when they have taken and hydrogenated it, the compound absorbed, otherwise taken up 4 moles of hydrogen to give tetrahydro product C31H54O2. And this one actually upon oxidation, it again gave an yellow colored quinonoid compound. Because it is yellow in color, it should be a 1,4 quinone. 1,2 quinones are actually red in color, so that's why it should be a 1,4 quinone. And its UV spectrum is also matching with naphthaquinone, and now this is it, disubstituted naphthaquinone. And also this reduced product formed diacetate, which is resistant to hydrolysis. Diacetate means the two oxygens are in the beginning, they must be there as something like a quinonoid. So upon reduction, it became hydroxy groups. So these two hydroxy groups can form diacetates, and this is the kind of conclusion which helped in assuming presence of a naphthaquinone ring in the structure. Further, no, they compared the chemical reaction, how actually 4 moles of hydrogen is consumed for hydrogenation of this compound. When they compared it with naphthaquinone, the naphthaquinone actually consumes 3 moles of hydrogen to give this compound. So this supported further presence of naphthaquinone, 1,4-naphthaquinone. So this type of structure in vitamin K. So one double bond in the side chain, because 3 hydrogen units are consumed for hydrogenating the quinonoid unit. So one more, because one more hydrogen is consumed, so one double bond must be there in the side chain. So here let's imagine like naphthaquinone, if it is there, how many unsaturations are there? For this benzene part, 4 unsaturations, 5, 6, 7, and we have another ring 8. Here how many unsaturations we needed? 9 unsaturations are needed. So this also supported that one more double bond can be there in the side chain. Now we need to find out what is that side chain and how actually the double bond is placed. Okay, so here what they have done is they have taken vitamin K1 and oxidized with chromic acid. This gave phthalic acid, and naphthaquinone, disubstituted naphthaquinone was also obtained. So this confirmed presence of naphthaquinone structure in the compound. So here you can see COOH group is formed. So this is the place where actually there is a possibility of presence of a double bond. So double bond can get oxidized so that carboxylic acid can form. So from this side, extension of side chain will be there. How many carbons are there here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 plus 6, 13. So here 13 carbons are there. 31 minus 13. How many? 31 minus 13, 21, 18. So another 18 carbons are there. All unsaturations are accounted for. So that those 18 carbons must be aliphatic chain. Okay, aliphatic compound. It can be branched chain or straight chain, because no more unsaturations are available here. Now when vitamin K1 is partially hydrogenated, it gave them a dihydrovitamin. So this gave them diacetyl dihydrovitamin, which upon ozonolysis gave a fragment which is actually aliphatic in nature and which is actually a ketone. Okay, so this fragment they have taken. What is that they have done? They have taken vitamin K1 and mild hydrogenation gave them dihydro K1. Because if you see benzoquinones, they can accept 1 mole of 2 moles of hydrogen to give you quinol, hydroquinol. So it is a possibility. So that is actually highly susceptible for oxidation reduction type of reaction, hydroquinone ring. When you compare it with a double bond, simple alkene, so hydroquinone is actually more susceptible to oxidation reduction type of reactions. So that is the way how. So here we have quinol, so that got acetylated, diacetyl dihydroquinone has come. And now we go to ozonolysis. So thereby they got a fragment, 18 carbon units are there, which is aliphatic in nature and it is a ketone. Now phytol upon ozonolysis gave a ketone with the same molecular formula, and when they compared the chemistry of both these, so they found like both are identical to each other. So this has confirmed presence of a long chain long chain alkanes, or branched alkane like this in the vitamin K1. Actually, this type of structures are possible in natural products because these are nothing but isoprene units. Here, if you see how many isoprene units are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One fragment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Second one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Third one. So three isoprene units are coupled with each other. So from here, you can have one more isoprene. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it is like a diterpene attached to a quinonoid unit. So these are possible biosynthetically, as this fragment is matching in every aspect with the ketone obtained from phytol, and this structure is already available. So upon comparison, they could get the structure of the chain. So this observation as well as this observation confirmed that vitamin K is actually containing naphthaquinone with a chain attached to the second position over here. Okay, so the long chain we have over here. Okay, so this is the structure which is proposed for vitamin K1. So what is the next thing that we need to do? Any structure when proposed is to be confirmed with a synthesis. Vitamin K1 synthesis was actually achieved by several people. Almquist synthesis in 1939, where he used simple, readily available 2-methyl-1,4-naphthaquinone and phytol. Phytol is a natural product that is available. That phytol is obtained from green algae. And in benzene and zinc chloride. Okay, so zinc chloride is acidic, and zinc chloride can convert OH to Cl. So thereby it can undergo. Can you name the reaction which can undergo after this one? It is almost similar to Friedel-Crafts acylation type, alkylation type of reaction. Okay, where zinc chloride has the capability to convert OH to Cl first, and zinc chloride is itself an acid. So that's why it can this compound is formed. Okay, so this compound has the physicochemical properties exactly similar to our vitamin K. So in that way, it was its structure is confirmed. The second synthesis is Fischer synthesis. It also happened almost in the same year. It was reported where they used 2-methyl-1,4-naphthaquinone and phytol, where they used anhydrous dioxane and oxalic acid. Oxalic acid is oxidizable chemical. Okay, so antioxidant. So this gets oxidized and then it reduces naphthaquinone so that it goes into quinol part, and then it is further it is further oxidized with silver oxide to obtain the product. Here the yields were yields are really good. So that's how this is different from the earlier synthesis. Woodler synthesis is where he used monoacetyl naphthaquinol. Okay, because it is acylated, this benzene ring is to be deactivated first, and we have to see that this position over here is highly reactive, and here they use BF3 and phytol to obtain the compound. Okay, so this is far better than the remaining synthesis as far as yields are concerned. So friends, this is the way how vitamin K synthesis has been achieved. Chemistry of vitamin K2. So how actually vitamin K2 is different from vitamin K1? Let's see. Vitamin K2 molecular formula is C41H56O2. Can you calculate number of unsaturations for this? 41 minus 56 by 2 is equal to 28, minus 28 plus 1. Plus 1 is also there. So 42 minus 28. How many? 12 minus 8 is equal to 4. 14 unsaturations are there. Earlier there are only 9 unsaturations are there. Here 14 unsaturations, means 3 more unsaturations, extra double bonds are there. So this is to be studied. The next one is vitamin K2 UV spectrum and then K-MnO for degradation clearly established that the compound is a naphthaquinone disubstituted, and 9 hydrogens were consumed to obtain during hydrogenation. It consumed 9 hydrogens. As I told you, more double bonds are there. So 3 moles for quinone, we knew that one already. 6 moles for double bonds in the side chain. 6 moles for double bonds in the side chain. Okay, so now we need to know where how so many double bonds are there. So there is a possibility of conjugation, or otherwise many other type of interactions can be there. So that's why we need to see. So when maleic anhydride is made to react with vitamin K2, it did not form any adduct. So if vitamin K2 contains any conjugated kind of double bonds, then it would have given us maleic anhydride adducts. Okay, Diels-Alder type of reaction can happen, as well as adducts can form, but it failed. So that's why all these double bonds are not conjugated. No conjugated double bond in the side chain. The next thing what they have done is they have taken the dihydrodiacetate. Okay, so in just like in the case of earlier case, so what they have done is they have done ozonolysis. Upon ozonolysis, what they got, this aldehyde, naphthaquinone acetaldehyde, and then 5 moles of this ketoaldehyde, and then acetone were obtained. 5 moles of this ketoaldehyde and acetone were obtained. So whenever ozonolysis happens, a double bond is going to be broken down, and then the corresponding carbons are going to be oxidized as carbonyl carbons. In that way, if 5 such units are formed, and here we have an aldehyde group, that means 5 units are joined with each other, and the terminal carbon over here is attached to, on one side it is attached to acetone, on the other side it is attached to this aldehyde. So how many bonds are there? This is the unit which is proposed. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 double bonds are there, and here we have the remaining double bond, otherwise the naphthaquinone unit is there. So this structure is proposed purely based on the possibility of biosynthesis, as well as by just looking at the fragments they obtained. So all these are isoprene units only. Here also you can see. So 1 2 3 4 5, this is one isoprene unit, this is another isoprene unit, next one, next one, next one, and next one. So these are all isoprene units, and isoprene units are possible in biosynthetic pathway. So that's why this structure is accepted. So later on the compound is confirmed, structure is confirmed by a synthesis. So friends, this is the way how vitamin K1 and K2 are related. Vitamin K1 and K2 are differentiated only with the side chain. So in case of vitamin K1, we have relatively saturated side chain, relatively saturated side chain. In case of vitamin K2, so many double bonds are there, highly unsaturated side chains are there. What is the biological significance of vitamin K? Vitamin K is actually involved in the blood coagulation mechanism. So here vitamin K is a fat soluble vitamin necessary for synthesis of coagulation factors involved in the coagulation cascade, because whenever coagulation has to happen, platelets are degraded, and then activated platelets are going to release factors. It switches on a cascade of events which ultimately converts prothrombin to thrombin. Thrombin is going to convert fibrinogen to fibrin, and that will be stabilized, cross-linked as a fibrin clot. So here factors 7, 9 and 10, all those in the biosynthesis, they needed vitamin K. So if vitamin K is not there, those factors cannot form, so thereby bleeding cannot be controlled, hemorrhage cannot be controlled. So that's the reason why when our system fails to seal off any kind of hemorrhage that happens because of breakage of smaller capillaries within your brain or within those areas where so much of stress is there, there is a possibility of blood leakage which leads to severe outcomes, and in many cases it may also end up in fatality. So that's the reason why vitamin K is essential. But in our medicine, actually, because we have in our medicinal chemistry, warfarin is a drug. It is an anticoagulant, which is actually an antagonist, especially works against the biosynthesis or integration of vitamin K in this pathway. So this is the way how vitamin K plays a very crucial role in our body, in our health. So friends, I hope you have understood the chemistry of vitamin K and the structural elucidation component. If you find any difficulty in understanding the concepts or otherwise in the structural elucidation, or if you have any doubt in the chemistry, please post it in the comment section. Please share this video with your friends as well as colleagues, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all. I'll meet you again with another useful lecture soon. Thank you.